I'm excited to take you through some time-saving tips and techniques when entering your listings, maintaining your listings. As Taylor mentioned, she's going to show you some great ways to promote your listings, how to take better photos, put captions and descriptions in, and really enhance your listing. I'm going to sort of take the first half and show you some easy buttons, and what you're really going to do when you're preparing for your listing appointment, how you're going to find those perfect comps, how then to add that information into a data sheet, and with one click, push all that data into the MLS. There's nothing worse than, as an agent of 23 years, having to do multiple entry for the exact same thing. It used to be, we're filling out a data sheet, then we're turning that in, then we have to re-enter all the information into the MLS. You don't have to do that anymore. We're going to show you some easy ways to pull from the tax records. And let's actually start there. All right, so I am going to pretty much turn off my messy hair so you can focus in on the screen. And we're going to talk about when you're getting ready for your listing appointment. How are you preparing? Where are you getting the information? Because obviously you want to pull like comparables to get them into the MLS. So where are you starting? Where's point A? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk you through point A to Z, which is kind of how we name this class, is really getting all your listings in, starting from the beginning and working your way to the end. All right, so I'm going to turn off my messy hair now so you can just see my screen here, and we're going to get started. So when you are preparing, the first thing you want to do is you want to go into the MLS and you want to see if the property's ever been listed before. That's the first thing, right? If it has, you're going to want to probably pull that listing ticket right into your CMA. And I say this because I recently just had a client reach out to me that was ready to sell their home. I help them buy it. But when I'm preparing their CMA, I want to make sure that they see what they paid for it, when we closed on it, what was the asking price. I want to bring in all of that information. I also want to bring in the BS&A record and the realist record so that I can see how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the square footage, what does the municipality have to actually say about the property. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go into Paragon and I want to pull up that listing address. So as you can see, it's actually been listed a couple of times and it's closed a couple of times. So if I want to see all the records for that property, I can simply click on Listings 3. I can go ahead and pull up the address for all 3 of those records, and then I can click in to the particular record I'm looking for. So maybe this is when they bought it through me. Now, a couple cool things that I want to point out is, as a My Real Source member, we actually give you some benefits behind the scenes, and not a lot of people know this. But if you are searching for a municipality record, now you probably know many times when you're going in for a property record, it will ask you to pay the $3 fee. And what that is that's a municipality fee that they basically charge in order for you to access the record. I'm so old that I remember the days where we actually had to drive to someone's house to get a field sheet, or a township hall to get a field sheet, and they were only open like 2 days a week, and you paid your $3 and they made you basically a photocopy of the field sheet. But it was very limited in the information. So as a My Real Source member, if you are searching in any of the 5 gross points, if you are searching in Macomb County, Genesee County, or now even St. Clair County, we actually pay that bill for you on your behalf as a My Real Source perk. So instead of you pulling up the property record, having to then go in and then pay the $3 fee, then put all the information in, wait for that search to load, we've basically given you an easy button. So let me show you where that easy button is. And I'm basically, when you are looking at the easy buttons that you see right here, one of them kind of looks like a trash can. It's basically a government pillar. And what that's designed to do is be an easy button to take you directly into the BS&A record. So when I click on that icon, it's really designed to save me steps. I don't have to go into BS&A. I simply click on that, and it takes me directly into that specific BS&A record. So instead of me having to go in to the BS&A website, type in the municipality, then type in the information, each time you're waiting for this search to load, as you just saw, I clicked on that basically that garbage can looking easy button, and it takes you directly into the property information. So why this is so important is right here I can see how many bedrooms, how many full baths, how many half baths, what's the above grade square footage. I can see if there's a basement, if it's a finished basement. I can see if there's a garage and so much more. As a matter of fact, many of the municipalities are now even including if there's outstanding water bills or if the water bill's been paid. I recently listed a home in Warren over here, and it had a $700 outstanding water bill. And as you know, water is attached to property. That means it has to actually be paid up before we want that paid up before that new owner takes possession. So seeing all of that information right in the municipality record is so important, as well as unpaid property taxes. I listed a condo recently in Clinton Township, and I met with her. She actually called me to list her condo because she said the taxes had gotten so high. She was so behind. So I brought the tax record in from the municipality. And guess what? Her mom, unfortunately, had passed away, left her the condo, but she never knew to homestead it. So it was one of those questions we were actually able to address on our listing appointment. I said, hey, just wondering, do you own another principal residence in Michigan? And she said, no, actually, and she explained the story. But because we addressed it in the CMA, we called the municipality, which happened to actually be Clinton Township. And they said, you know what? We'll rebate you a lot of that tax money. So she only owed a small fraction of what she thought she did. So a lot of times having all this information helps you be a better agent. It helps you ask the right questions on your listing appointment to make sure you're netting them out properly and to make sure you're handling these things that may come up at the closing table. So as you were looking at this Sterling Heights record, we're going to kind of scroll down here. In this record, of course, I can see what the SEV is. I can see what it's zoned. I can see the lot line. So when I'm trying to compare and find those right comps, this is obviously very important. I can see here it does have a garage. I can see the foundation size of the home, so I know it's a ranch. I can see that the basement area and that it's unfinished. So a lot of this detail is that we need. It has, let's see, a garage of 399 square feet. If it has a back porch, how big that is, or a patio. So a lot of that is already right here. So I'm going to show you a couple quick tips today. So the first thing I want to do is when that homeowner asks me, well, Colleen, how did you get my square footage? I think I have more or less square footage. I'm going to make sure that I'm bringing in the trusted record from BS&A. A lot of people will say, well, Colleen, what's the difference, BS&A versus another MLS who may use BS&A? Well, we actually use the live BS&A server. That means if you have clients who owe property taxes, if they go this afternoon and the title company needs a record that it's been paid, you're going to be able to use ours versus any other MLS feeds because they're using feeds. Ours is hitting the live server. So if your clients do go down and they have, let's say you're supposed to close today, they have some property taxes that haven't been paid. When the assessor hits paid at the municipality today, you're going to see it paid right away this afternoon and still be able to close. So that's another important tip. So once I've got this record, what I generally do as an agent, I will print this as a PDF. I generally will save it to my desktop so that I can quickly pull this in when I am preparing my CMA, which we're going to walk you through those tips and tricks in doing that as well. So I'm just going to say we're going to call this class example. And I'm going to save this right to my desktop. And that way I can pull it in. Here's another quick tip. If you are doing a CMA in Cloud CMA, which is, by the way, my favorite CMA program, I think I've used 7 or 8 of them now. I'm a huge fan of Cloud, but what I don't like is I don't like those ugly Google overhead shots. So if you're creating a beautiful CMA, the last thing you want is some ugly overhead street shot, right? You really want it to look like you've spent time researching the property. Now you may two-step your listings, which means you may have gone over there and you may have taken a nice photo of the home ahead of time, and then you could use that. If you are one-stepping your listing or you want to use a photo, you never want to use a photo from the MLS because Taylor's going to talk a lot about photos today. But what she taught me is that whoever clicks the shutter of the camera actually owns the copyright to that photo. So you don't want to steal another agent's photo. However, when I look right here at the public rec photo, I can actually see that I can see the front of the house. Cute picture. I don't really like this ugly date, but here's a little tip. Whether it's RPR or whether it's taking a public record photo, you could use this as your cover for your CMA. So I'm just gonna right click on it and I'm gonna save this image. Okay, so I'm gonna say that I am gonna call this we'll call this our class example photo. That way I can remember to delete all these afterwards so I don't have a million icons like I did on my last computer. So we'll call this class example photo. And we're going to save that to our desktop as well. All right. So now we've got our basic information, and a lot of people will say, Colleen, why would you use BSNA over, let's say, Realist? So remember, BSNA is the trusted municipality record. And why you would want to actually do that is because it's the one if you ever got into a legal situation and a judge asked where you got your information, this is where he's going to look. He's going to look at the actual BSNA record because it is one single municipality source. However, I want to show you one other little thing here. So this is great. I'm saving it. Of course, I would save things like if there was the water bill attached, I would save that. Your tax information, I also would go in and save that record. I want to have all of my homework in a row. So again, I would save the tax record to show that everything's been paid up, just kind of so I can address those things when we're going over them. But there's another thing I like to do when I'm prepping. I like to look at the Realist record. Now, Realist is a combined source. So it's not the one that a judge would use, but it's still one you should definitely check. So where Realist is, remember I said on my screen, the garbage can looking icon is the BSNA record, but there's another little red button that is actually the Realist record. And what Realist does is it pulls up a lot of that same information, but it will show discrepancies as well. I like this too because at the bottom, it will show you if they've refied, if the home has gone into foreclosure, it'll show you the sale history. All of this is actually recorded. Now, why this is so important right now is we are seeing homeowners falling a little bit on more hard times. Expenses have gone up quite dramatically. Insurance has gone up, and this is, of course, affecting people's payments. Unfortunately, people are also getting laid off. So we're starting to see kind of a changing market coming into play. So if you see, let's say that you're on your Realist record here, and all of a sudden you're looking at this Realist record and you realize, wait, they just bought this 2 years ago. And wow, okay, I can see they did a refi on it. And again, it would say it right here. This one doesn't happen to say that, but if they did a refi on it, you'll see refi and the amount that they refinance. Why you want to know this ahead of time is if you're about to walk into a home, they overpaid for it 2 years ago in that crazy hot market. They've also started pulling money out. They're probably going to be upside down in their home. And you're going to want to know that ahead of time to make sure that you can have that conversation and help them in that situation. So all of this is recorded right here in the Realist record. It will also show discrepancies. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but it says MLS says it's a basement. Sometimes it will say one thing next to MLS and another thing next to tax. So it'll spell out that it got this from the tax record. Why that's important is there are many times, unfortunately, and I just had a situation like this in Sterling Heights. I like to give good examples of why it's so important to have this. The record from the municipality clearly said it was one story. But the MLS record said it was 2 stories. Okay, so kind of weird, right? Is it a ranch or is it a colonial? We don't know. So as I pull up in front of the home, I can clearly see that it is a two-story building. But again, it would say MLS 2, tax 1 next to the stories. So I asked the homeowner, I said, I'm just a little confused because I see that the township says that, you're one story. He goes, oh, I own a dormer company and I just put a second level on. So now we have a question of, okay, did you pull permits and does the city know that? And of course he said no. So these are important questions that you want to ask when you're listing the property. Again, I would go into here, I would print this as a PDF because by printing it, I am now adding in where I'm getting my information. I want to make sure that I'm showing him, I pulled this from Realist, I pulled this from the tax information. So there's a little print button right here. It prints it as a PDF for me. And now, of course, I can use that when I'm sitting with the homeowner and going through, where I pulled my information. All right. So another thing that we're really going to want to do now, we've started gathering our homework. As I mentioned, I also like to pull in my listing ticket because I want them to see, well, when you bought it, you paid X. Again, you're showing that you're doing your homework. So I would go up here, I would do a print. I would then save that as a PDF and save that to my desktop because I want to pull all of this information in. So now, as I'm starting to go through this, I want to start preparing my listing paperwork, right? Because I'm putting all my information together. I'm going to come up with my comps. I also want to now pull up my forms and get those ready to go as well. So, obviously, when you're preparing your forms, the biggest question is, well, what are we going to list the home for? Well, now we have enough data to find those comps to pull that information over into our listing transaction, right? So let's talk about how we're going to find those comps because obviously when we're creating the listing, we want to make sure that we are giving the homeowner the right price that we want to list their home for. So I'm going to start off doing a search in Paragon. And of course, in this case, I'm searching for a single family home. Now, I want to do what an appraiser is going to do. And I know everybody's thinking, well, right now, Colleen, these are still selling for over appraised value. And you're absolutely right. But you do need to know what they're going to appraise for. Because if you get a $300,000 offer and it's only going to appraise for 250, well, somebody needs to make up that $50,000, right? You're going to need to know what it comps out at. So let's actually go in. Let's talk about what we're going to do when we're trying to find comps for a specific listing. Now, the first thing is, of course, we're going to, and my fields, by the way, might be in a little bit different order. It's just because you can customize them, you can move them around. I'll show you that in just a moment. But really, when you are looking for comps, the most important comp that you can possibly get is the closed comp, right? It's going to tell you what the financing was there concessions, when did it close, how much did it close for? That's obviously the most important. But anyone who knows me knows that I am a huge Floyd Wickman fan. And he always said, never tell a homeowner anything. Show them everything. And you better bet if you're going to waste their time, you better know what is active around them and what is pending. Otherwise, you are wasting their time because they know and they want to know you know as the trusted professional. So, of course, closed is where we're deriving our numbers. But we also want to make sure that we see actives and pendings so that when he asks us about them or she asks us about them, we can say, oh, yep, I got that right here. Joe Schmagegi, he's listed for $299. He's been on the market for X amount of days. I want to have all that in front of me. Now, the other thing is in a market like this, an appraiser is going to go back 6 months. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I hate these MLS calendars. I find them just a complete waste of my time. So do something for yourself. Go over here to the right, click on the date range drop down and pick 6 months. Instead of clicking in the calendar, counting 6 months back, clicking on the day, clicking on the next calendar, way too much work. We just want to use these easy drop downs 6 months back because that's what an appraiser is going to do in this area. Now, of course, if you are working in a more rural area, if you are, let's say, working out in more of a country area, maybe it's, no like comparables for several miles. Sometimes you do have to expand what I'm actually giving you. I'm giving you the basics, the guidelines that appraisers are going to use, especially in this area, but you may not be able to stay within 1 mile. You may have to open up your circle a little bit further. I'm going to show you how to do that today too. But I'm going to show you the basic guidelines that an appraiser is going to use and some of the tips and tricks appraisers use. That way, when you're finding those perfect numbers, you know exactly what you're doing. Okay. All right, so we're going 6 months back. We've got our statuses of closed, active, and pending. Another little trick is if you've had the conversation with the homeowner and you know they're going to plan on overpricing your listing. Like I always like to ask the question, so what do you think the condo's worth? And I promise you, whether it's a condo or a single family home, they always answer the same. Well, I don't know. That's why I'm hiring you. You'll get a little further in the conversation. You'll generally ask the question again. So, what were you thinking of putting it up for sale for? You're not trying to find out what it's worth. You're trying to find out what they think it's worth. Because if they think it's worth 400 and you're going to walk in and it's only worth 325, you better have a good reason to tell them not to overprice it. So another little tip and trick, and this was a Floyd Wickman trick, so I can't take the credit for it. But what he would say is if you already know the homeowner is going to think about overpricing their home, be a really good idea to have one overpriced or expired listing that has been on the market for a long time. So, meaning if you put an expired in here that you can see went on the market way overpriced and it was on the market for 280 days, they reduced the price 3 or 4 times, you can say, you know what? This is why you don't want to overprice your listing. Now, look, his listing is stale. He's been on the market almost 300 days, and you can see he's had to reduce his price several times. These are good things, even if you don't put them in your CMA. These are great options to have in your briefcase to be able to pull out if they say, you know what, hey, I think we should ask a lot more than what what you're suggesting that we put it on the market for. All right, so we've got our closed, we've got our active, we've got our pending, we've got our 6 months back. And basically, the home that we're about to list, we're putting in as much detail as we need to find the right comps. So this happens to be a 3-bedroom home. We saw that in the tax records. So bedrooms 3 to 3. Happens to be a 1.5 bath. We saw that. So maybe we're going to do a 1 to 2. If you want to be more specific, a lot of people don't know this, but if you scroll down to secondary criteria, doesn't look like anything happens when you click on it. But if you click on that little drop down, you could even be more specific. Maybe you want to say 1 full bath and 1/2. If you've got a lot of comps, you may want to dwindle it down to be exact. Otherwise, you might be, if you've got 2 full baths, for example, then 1.5 bath isn't worth generally as much as those 2 full baths. So you might want to be even more specific when you're drilling down your comps. I'm not going to do that today because, quite honestly, we don't have enough inventory in this city. Matter of fact, I've written 2 offers in the last 2 weeks in this city. One home went on the market, had 13 offers, and the other one had 9. And I know this is not the case in every city. We are seeing a changing market start to occur. But I'm going to tell you, in this city, it is the case, and you want to be really exact, but there's not enough inventory maybe to take it to where you could add in things like features or be even more specific. So I'm going to say that we are looking for 3 bedrooms. We're looking for 1 to 2 baths. Yes, we know it does have a basement because it said that in the BS&A record. And yes, we know it does have a garage. And we know that it's a 2-car garage. So you could even put that level of detail in, 2 to 3 car garage if you wanted to. This happens to be a 2.5-car garage, so we could do that. The other thing is you can add things like maybe the comps you want have an attached garage. Now, if you've never used features, generally don't use a lot of features especially when there's no inventory, when I'm looking for comps. But keep in mind, if you have a lot of comps, if you've returned a lot of comps and you're looking to dwindle them down to be exactly like your home, which is what our goal is, you could even say, I only want to see comps with an attached garage. Let's take it to that next level, right? If you don't know what features are here, and if you've never used features, use features more on the buyer side when I'm setting up a buyer, especially in like Collab Center or something like that, because features work like this: must have, must not have, or must have at least one or more. So if I wanted to dwindle my comps down to attached garage, well, I could click on this magnifying glass. I could find garage type, which you see here, and I could even say I only want to see comps with a garage type or with an attached garage. I'm sorry, under garage type. All right, so you can go ahead and add even more level of detail. As I mentioned, quite honestly, I'm not going to do that simply because we don't have enough inventory. But what does an appraiser do when it comes to square footage? Well, they usually use a 20% rule. So this home we saw in the tax records was 1,361 square feet. So we're going to figure out that 20%. So in this case, I'll just pull up my calculator here. So when you're doing square footage, if it's 1361, we're going to figure out what that 20% is, and it comes out to 272 feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that 1361 and we're going to add that on top. Then we're going to take that same 1361 and we're going to minus that out. That's going to give us our square footage of 20%. So again, if we do 1361, we take that 270, just round it. That's going to be the top of my square footage, right? So I'm going to say that we're going to do about 1630 for the top. And again, you would figure it out. We'll do what would that be? 11, we'll say 1155 to 1630 would be our approximate square footage. And again, if you grab your calculator, you can figure it out very quickly too. All right, other things that you're going to want to add in: structure style. You generally want to compare a ranch to a ranch. You certainly don't want to compare a two-story colonial to a 1,100 square foot brick ranch. It's never going to be the same, right? There are some key things. Of course, you can add in things like school district. That's always helpful when you're trying to keep like comparables. But really, you're probably thinking, lady with the fuzzy hair, you've got almost 4,000 comparables there, right? Because we didn't put in the most important thing, which of course is location, location, location. How are you going to figure out 1 mile from your subject property like an appraiser would do? Well, here's the key. You're going to use the map functions. So you're going to go over here to where it says, instead of choosing by area, you're going to go over here to where it says search by map. You're going to click into that map. But that map is going to open to your office location. You're not listing your office, right? So this red X always will take you to where your office is unless you change it in your preferences. You can put another address in, so it opens up to that address too. But here's what I want to do. I want to go up to this center line here, and I want to type in the actual address, comma, the city. Now, here's an important key. This uses Google Maps, so less is best. This happens to be Wessel Drive, but you're going to want to leave off the drives, the ways, the places, the courts, the avenues. It will not come up right. You want to put in just the route street name, comma, the city, and hit this magnifying glass. That's going to show you exactly where the subject property is. Okay, so what's the next step? We want to do what an appraiser is going to do. We want to create a 1 mile radius. That's what an appraiser is going to do in this area. So I'm going to go to search radius, add in 1 mile. You could do 1.5 miles. You could do 1.25 miles. You could put in whatever you want. Let's pretend for a moment that you didn't get any comps. Okay, so as you can see, we've got quite a few comps already popping in our circle. You can click on these flags. It's going to show you the comps right over here to the left. We have comps. I can see how close they are to the schools here. But let's pretend for a moment that we didn't. Let's pretend you did all of this, you got to this point, and you're like, well, how far do I go out to find the comps? So maybe you only got one. You're really shooting for 3 to 5 comps. So let's say for a moment that you didn't get any of those. How do you expand your circle just a little bit, maybe to pull in, maybe you don't want to go another half mile. Maybe you just want to see, okay, how far do I have to go to find additional comps? So you can actually go to this edit right over here on the left, click into the shape, and watch this. You see how it creates these little dots here? You could actually expand your comps just a little bit and see, did I get anything additional? So you can literally just grab those, pull them open up until you get that additional comp. As you can see, we've now got enough comps. We're going to go ahead and to do the same thing, you can close up your shape by simply clicking on it. So now we've created our radius. Now, here's something I did not know for a long time. Let's say you've never been to the property before. You kind of want to take a look at it. You want to see what's the neighborhood like. Maybe it's 2 hours away. You don't want to drive over there, come back, do your CMA, and then drive back again. You can always grab this little yellow Google man over here, and you can set them in front of your subject property. It does something really cool. So let me show you. When you set them in front of your subject property, it will actually pin which is, so I can see the home to the left. I can see the home to the left, home to the right. But you see this pin right here? This is our subject property. This is the one that we're going to be listing tonight. But if you or your buyers, let's say you have buyers who are using the Collab Center in Paragon, you can literally walk down the street. You can see the entire neighborhood right from your computer. So you can see, oh, yep, they're cute little traditional brick ranches. Looks like most of them have that attached garage. You can see all of that detail. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go back to our map. I'm going to also throw in some kind of interesting circumstances. So let's say for a moment, yeah, I got our class here. Let's say for a moment that Jessica, hello, Jessica. Jessica is going to be listing this home. And let's pretend for a moment that Jamie has these 4 beautiful waterfront listings. We're going to pretend that this is not the Clinton River. We're going to pretend this is beautiful Lake St. Clair, just for our example today. So we've got Jamie who's got these absolutely beautiful $1 million listings just dotting the waterfront. Congratulations, Jamie. But we have Jessica who is listing a brick ranch off the water. So she doesn't care about these $1 million waterfront homes because they're really going to just mess up her CMA numbers. So Jessica actually wants to take it to the next level. She wants to kind of not include these fancy schmancy waterfronts because although she's excited for Jamie on our call, she's not so anxious to bring those in and mess up her CMA numbers. So she's going to go over to this drawing tool, and I prefer the polygon because you can be a little more exact. And she's going to say, you know what? I want to exclude these waterfront listings from my CMA because it's really just going to mess up my numbers. So I'm going to actually exclude anything that falls in the waterfront. Now you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, lady, they're still there. Well, you can actually draw a shape on a shape. You can actually draw up to 10 shapes on your map, just so you know. When you're going to go back to edit, and you see where it says include, we're going to hit exclude. Anything that falls within that area now has been excluded. Now I'm showing you this in the way of comps, but keep in mind you could actually do the same thing if you're working with a buyer and you want to exclude a big area of a city. Or maybe he's looking at a whole county, but he doesn't like this one little area, at the northeast corner. You can actually exclude that too. If you want to add, let's say you want to see lot sizes, or you want to add even more clarity to maybe what that neighborhood looks like, you can actually zoom in, and you have these great tools that are basically layered. It kind of looks like 3 pieces of paper right up here where you see my mouse. You can actually add on things like parcel lines. So let's say, you're trying to find out, are all the homes in that neighborhood larger lots or smaller lots than your listed property? Well, you can actually click into a parcel. Now, the only thing is you do have to zoom in. because you want to be very clear on what parcel you're looking at. Even if it's not a listed property, like this house is not currently on the market, you can still click in. You can see the lot lines, you can see the area, and a Google shot of that home. So if you're trying to figure out in your comps why something closed for less or more and you're doing your homework, a lot of times they might have a bigger lot, and you can actually see that right here through the map. All right, so it's just a couple quick ideas. All right, so we've got our circle, we've got our radius drawn out here. We know where we're looking. We've done what an appraiser is going to do. And obviously, the more detail you put in, that is like your subject property, the more comps you're going to receive. So you want to keep it really apples to apples. In this case, I'm just going to use these because I did add active and pending. And now I want to click Run Search. So really what I'm doing is I'm pulling up all of those. I like to sort them as well so I can see the active with the active, the pending with the pending. Your goal, of course, is to find 3 to 5 close. So if you want to sort them, just click on the column heading. It will sort them that way. I want to see my pendings with my pendings, active with active. For the sake of time, now I would go through and I would look at things like year built. I would look at, in even greater level of detail. I would put 2-car attached garage. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to grab 5 of these. I like to use between 3 and 5 closed comps. That is the goal. Once you've done that, now you want to take it to the next level. We would now want to create a great wowing presentation in Cloud CMA. So I'm going to click on the, basically it looks like a plugin, if you will, the actions button. And that's going to take these all into a great CMA report. So I also have a little OCD. I don't like how all these are still on here if I'm not using them. Here's another little tip. If you click on the checked button, you'll only see the listings that you're now working with. That's exactly what I want. I want to move these over to the actions button. I now want to create my CMA with those listings. That's going to take me right into Cloud. Now, I'm just going to tell you, this is not a Cloud class, and due to time, we won't have enough time to go through all of the cool bells and whistles with Cloud, but I do want to show you a couple quick things. If we're making this for Sally Seller, we're going to enter in our address. Now, it's doing all the hard work behind the scenes for us, because right down here, it's putting in all of those listing numbers that we selected from Paragon. It doesn't matter if they are a real comp listing, a My Real Source listing, a Bay County listing. Thanks to data sharing and all those great efforts of getting all of that information in your home MLS database, everything's brought over for you. So you don't have to do anything. You click that button, it's doing that for you. I want to put in my address, and as I start to type it, it's going to quick fill for me. It's also going to bring the information in from the tax records, like how many bedrooms and bathrooms. Remember how I said, though, that I want to use a nice cover photo? I don't want an ugly Google overhead shot. So I'm going to grab that class example photo that we looked at before. I'm going to pull that in. But remember how I said I didn't like that date that's on there? Kind of ugly. I want to really use the arrows here. Click on them. Crop that ugly date out. So I'm really just seeing how beautiful that house is. I'm going to add that. And I'm simply walking through these 4 tabs along the top to create a wowing CMA. Sorry, I got a new mouse and sometimes it's a little finicky. All right, so now it's bringing in those comps. Again, in our Cloud CMA class, we show you how to do positive and negative adjustments for properties. Let's say your property is the only one without a garage. We'll show you how to drag and drop these into the right order, even put in a suggested net price. Again, that's all part of our Cloud class, so I do hope you take that. I'm going to customize my report, which means what pages do I want to add? Well, I want to add those custom pages. We'll show you also how to do that in Cloud, but basically I want to add things like the BS&A record that we pulled up at the beginning. I want to add my real list report. I want to add helpful information like market stats. I also can create custom pages, like what sites I'm going to make sure their home gets on. So my brokerage actually syndicates to almost, I think it's over 400 sites now. And I always got asked that every time I was going on a listing appointment. So I created this great page that's like the third page of my template in my CMA. So when they ask me, well, Colleen, you're going to put my home on Zillow, you're going to have me on realtor.com. I've already gone through that when we discussed the listing. So from here, I also like to include things like, I'll show you one, market condition, or you can include property condition. I had a home actually, and I think that one's in here. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I had a home that the renters had really just made a terrible mess inside the home. They'd taken the cupboards off the walls, and there was water running all over the floor. And I wanted to, instead of telling my seller, hey, it's in such bad shape, I actually wanted to show him the condition of the property. So I literally went to the house. It was tagged for no C of O. The stairs were falling down, so it was deemed unsafe. I took photos of a lot of the market condition. Here's where the water ended up running over. You had some people come in and start working on it right away. Cupboards broken off the walls. A lot of you can see it was just not in great shape. The carpet, you can see upstairs, was just, they let some animals loose on. I mean, it was just in really bad shape. So the idea was I added all of that into my CMA so we could address it together. Once you have the pages that you want in your CMA, and if there's something you don't want, you can hit the minus button. If there's something you do want that's not there, you just hit the plus, and it floats over into the bottom of your CMA. But of course, you can drag and drop these in the order that you want. You can pick different templates. You can even choose different colors and fonts. But once you've got it set up the exact way you like, you're going to publish your report. I'm just going to show you one really quick that I created. It takes about 30 seconds to actually publish your report, but it makes a very wowing presentation. So for our Sally seller, when I'm ready to go through it, I have two different options. I can use an online interactive option, which will literally allow me to go through it step by step in an interactive way, where I can use an interactive map and see more comps. Or I can choose to present it like this. I can save this as a PDF. Let's see, can I see? I think I can probably just make this a little bit easier to see here. But I can actually just jump from page to page. I can go through it. I usually do this in a presentation mode, so it looks a little bit nicer. But hopefully you can kind of see that in a nice, easy read view. And the idea here is that I now can go over page by page, and I like to include the interior photos. So if they say, yeah, but does Joe Schmagegi have a finished basement? I can actually go over that with them. I can say, oh, yes, actually. It's taking a minute for these photos to load in here, but I'm kind of rushing it along. Only can you include that front shot with all of the detail from the MLS, but you can also include those interior photos. So if they do ask questions like, does Joe Schmagegi have a finished basement, I can address those as well. So you can do it in the form of a PDF. Again, I usually do that in the presentation mode, so it looks a little bit nicer. But I want to show you the new interactive mode too. There's also a live view where you can actually do an interactive presentation. You could do it over just like we're doing. You could do it over Zoom or Skype. There's a little hamburger stack kind of up here. And it just asks you, would you like to present this in a live stream? Gives you your live streaming options. But what I like about this one is it does allow you to change your comps or answer questions about the comps live. So let me show you what I mean. When you click on comparables, here's our subject property home. This one of course is the closest to the home. This one also has an additional bathroom, and you can see it's kind of highlighted here. It might have more or less square footage, and that's highlighted here. But let's say that Jessica is talking to her homeowner, and the homeowner says, you know what about Joe? He closed yesterday, and Jessica, being the good agent, had her CMA done 2 days ago. You could actually go into the live interactive map. What I like about this is if for any reason that you've missed a comp, or usually what happens is they're in a ranch and they want to know about Joe Schmagegi who's in a colonial, but of course you don't have a picture of that home to know that. Well, now you do. You can actually click into the interactive map. You can zoom in and you could say, oh, Joe over here on Apple Tree Way. You can click on, you can say, well, actually, if you look here, Joe is a split level, and yours is a ranch. That's why I didn't choose that comp. However, if it's just a comp you missed because Jessica did her CMA a day earlier, you could actually say, okay, let's include that comp. Now it's going to add it for you on the fly. So it does some really cool things there that we'd certainly needed for a long time. All right, so we've made this wowing presentation. We are going to get our sellers to sign the listing while we're there. How do you create your listing paperwork? That's where we're going next. To create your listing paperwork, now we know our price that we're going in. We've done our wowing presentation. Again, there's a whole class on Cloud CMA, but now we want to create our listing paperwork for them to sign at our appointment. So we're going to go into resources. We're going to go into transaction desk, and we're going to pull from the tax records. So I'm going to go over to my transaction dashboard. It's right here. I am now going to add a new listing transaction. I'm going to simply click on the plus button. And of course, I want to give it a name. So we're going to call this 123 Colleen Avenue, or whatever that address is. I'm going to save myself a lot of time by applying my company listing packet. I'm also going to say that I want to pull from the tax records in Realist so that I don't have to enter the address, the legal description, the tax info. All of that's done for me. How do I find the record though? I'm going to go over to this magnifying glass to the right, but there is a trick to this. This is important. You really only want to add in the county, the street number, and the root street name. Okay, so the county of this property is going to be Macomb. The street number, we'll use our trusty our 41539. It's Wessel Drive, but of course we just want to put in Wessel. Search our tax data, and guess what? It immediately found that record. I want to check it off, and I want to use that to create my listing file. Now, because I've selected my forms packet, all the information is coming over into all the specific forms I need. Like you can see how much auto population is already taking place. Street number, street name, city, county, tax number, school district, year bill, zip code, legal description, subdivision name, tax information, all of that's coming over. Of course, I'm going to add in things like what's our suggested list price, things of that nature. Or maybe you leave that blank until you're meeting with them. I'm going to go ahead and hit next, put in my listing date, but I also like it when you go to the contacts on step 3 of your wizard, it'll even put in the seller of record. If there's a husband and wife or 2 partners own it, whatever, it will actually put them into the contacts and it will label them seller. It will also save you a lot of time when you're tagging where they're supposed to sign if you're utilizing e-signatures with Authentisign. Authentisign will pick up that this is the seller and it will know every place they're supposed to sign an initial, and it will tag it appropriately for you. The nice thing is now when I go to things like my agency disclosure, my exclusive right to list, all of that information is actually flowing into the forms already. As you can see, it's already got my seller's names here. It's already got my street address. All I have to do is go through the form, and if you add a lot of detail to that wizard in the beginning, all of that will auto-populate here as well. Makes it very, very simple. The other thing I want to show you is the data sheet. The data sheet allows you to put all that information in from the tax record, but it does something really, really cool. What it does is it will start auto-populating the basics for you, but of course, when you go on your listing appointment, there are a couple things you may not know yet. You may not know the final price, right? You may want to go into 270 and they might want to go into 280. So you don't really know that final price generally. You might not also know the room measurements yet because you haven't been there to measure. But pretty much everything else I know from the tax records. So I'm going to fill in as much of this form as possible. And then I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit save. Once they've signed the listing agreement, I'm sure of the price, I'm sure of the terms, I'm sure of the room measurements, and I'm going to come back in the transaction desk. I'm going to fill in those remaining details. Then I'm going to click the upload listing button, which is right here. Basically, what this is going to do is it is going to create a partial listing in Paragon. It's pushing all of your great information into the MLS for you. So you don't have to wait for an admin to rekey it. You don't have to rekey all that info. You can go right into the listing section under partials. Now, if you are an admin, admins, of course, are going to see all of those partials. If you're just looking at yours, same concept, but you'll just see your listings. If you go into the partial, you now can go in and add photos. You can add your documents, which Taylor's going to talk all about from here. But you can actually pull in that remaining information. Then just hit save and your listing will be live in the MLS. If you're not ready to make it live just quite yet, you can always save it as a partial for up to 6 months. And then it will notify you it's getting ready to expire so you can actually save it again. So it makes it very, very easy. If I'm ready to pull up, let's say I want to add my disclosures, really simple to do that. All you're going to do is hit add documents, add new. Now there's many other MLS systems that are having a hard time with this right now. They've made it very complicated. You have to go in and clear your cache. You have to go in and we don't do that. It's always been simple for us. All you're going to do to pull in a seller's disclosure is click on where on your computer it is. So I happen to have a disclosure right here, which I have named. So here's my lead-based paint. Or you could put in your seller's disclosure. Just give it a description and hit save, and it's that easy. So I'm going to call this my seller's disclosure. I'm going to hit save. And it's going to pull those documents in with one click. Anyone can access it through HomeSnap. Anybody can access it through the MLS itself. You can see them in other programs, like if an agent writes an offer, it automatically pulls them into Transaction Desk. So it's very simple. Just so I don't screw up anybody else's listing, I'm just going to delete that real quick. But you can see how easy it is to go directly from this data sheet to push the data over into the MLS to create that partial listing. And of course, admins can then do that same thing. They can add photos for you or review it if that's your brokerage policy. One last thing is in Transaction Desk, another one of my favorite features is you can send your seller's disclosures out to your seller to fill out from their email. So if you're like me and you don't want to wait around for 30 minutes while they're filling out their seller disclosure information, you can actually hit File, Send via email. Except when they get this form, you can open it and allow them to fill it out right from their email. So let me show you really quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Taylor. I can say I want to send this seller's disclosure over to my seller to fill out before I get there. The only difference is you're going to allow them to edit the form because it's going to be a live link. So I'm going to say that I'm sending this to Sally Seller. And I'm going to put in Sally Seller's email address. And maybe a subject line of looking forward to seeing you tonight at our listing appointment, whatever you want to say. And then you can put a personal message in as well as that subject line. You can even give an expiration date. Maybe you want them to remember to sign it before you get there on Friday for your listing appointment. Then all you have to do is hit send. It's going to send it in an editable format so that they can quickly fill it out. So I'm just going to show you what they see because I was kind of concerned about this, quite honestly. I thought, but will my average seller know how to fill it out? Is it easy? Are they going to know it's from me? How do they know it's not spam? Well, when it comes to your seller, this is how it comes. It comes from you, from your email address. So it looks like it comes from you. It has, by the way, your contact information at the bottom. So should they have any questions on filling it out, they can reach out to you. But basically, it gives them some brief instructions. They click on the seller's disclosure, and just like you, they can fill forms out, but you can see it's a nice, easy format. They don't get that whole transaction desk bells and whistles. They just get a very simple format. If they make a mistake, they can deselect something. Down here, the fields are open, so they can go ahead and type the information in. All they have to do to get it back to you is hit save. As soon as they save it, you, the agent, will be notified it's been placed back in your transaction desk system. You do get an email with a link at the bottom that will also take you directly in to see the form they've just filled out. Of course, they can save a copy to their computer, they can print out a copy, or certainly blow it up so that they can see it even easier. Very simple to send those ahead of time so that they're all filled out. They can sign them. You do need to resubmit them if they're going to sign them using e-signatures. But I find this way easier than waiting for them to fill in all this information, especially because you know how detailed it is. I would rather be home and then have it come directly back to me. It's a lot simpler, and then take it along with my listing docs when I'm on my listing appointment. All right, I got to turn it over to Taylor now. So Taylor, I am going to make you the presenter so you can talk about how they can enhance their listings, how they can promote their listings, and how much more they can do. So bear with me. I'm going to kick this over to you.
So just so everyone knows, there is a questions piece too. So you're welcome to ask questions. Colleen will be monitoring that. We had a couple questions come through that I answered privately. But so don't feel like you can't ask me questions while I'm going through everything. But great job, Colleen. Thank you. So I just wanted to kind of, take off from everything that Colleen covered, from the tax records to populating the data fields and bringing that over into Paragon to create a listing. So now what do you do, right? So I have this listing. How do I make it live? What are the next steps where I can do all the fun stuff, where I can add my photos and I can start marketing that property? So before we dive into that, Colleen briefly touched on something that's really nice about Paragon called the partial function. So when you bring that over, when you push that, whether you rekey in the data sheet itself or you bring it over from transaction desk and it populates those data fields, you actually have options where it's not just going to go live without everything perfected at the end. You have a partial. So when you're in Paragon, you can go up to the listings and you'll see maintain listings and maintain partials. So a listing is already alive, active, pending, are sold listings that I've had, and then the partials are those drafts. So I can go in and I can now maintain that partial listing and go in and perfect that with the photos and descriptions and remarks and start marketing the open houses and tours and so on and so forth, and then also make it live. So one thing that I want to really explain when it comes to making your listing live is you want to have all of this stuff set and ready to go before you make it live because of the way the data works. So we have coverage over 97% of the state, and that is with our members, that's with ones that we vendor, and that's with data shares. So when when a listing gets put into the MLS and it's saved, it is bam, it is in the system. People are getting alerts on Collaboration Center and auto emails and everything that a new listing, and it's flagged as a new listing. So when it's flagged as a new listing, those clients get push notifications that their house just hit the market. Now, if you don't go in and you add all these photos, which I'm going to go through some techniques for you, you go in and you add 30 photos in a couple days, The problem is it's not seen as a new listing. It's just a media file update, which can actually take about 24 hours to be updated on all of these places. So that's from IDX to syndication to data shares. Data shares are usually within, an hour, but all those other ancillaries can take up to 24 hours depending on the broker and what they have set up. So you want to have all of your photos and links and tours and everything ready to go before you make this listing live. So this little partial feature is really nice because you can come back and you can proofread it and you can do all that after the fact. Another thing that's really nice that we have in Paragon that I just want to kind of, let's play this out as if I was, Colleen was my admin. And I am now need to go in and she added all the data sheet, she added all the information, but you know what? I'm the one that took the photos. I'm the one that has been to the listing. I want to go in and I want to add all of that stuff and be the final say. I can actually go in and I can assume her identity. You can put in an assume identity request for whether that's the office admin, automatically has that with the brokerage where they can go in and they can assist with this, or if you have an assistant or you're part of a team, you can work with assume identity, just put that request in with us. So I can go in as Colleen and I can go in and I can actually go in acting as her, but it's still tracking that it's me in the system for reporting purposes. But I can go in and I can actually maintain her partial if I need to, or maintain my own partial and if she was my admin and vice versa. So now I can go in and I can, if she hadn't, I don't think you have any partials set up, but I can go in and I can do that or maintain the listing with a price change. So this assume identity feature is really nice. If we have any brokers on board and you have an office admin and don't have this fully enabled, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you are part of a team and want to have this enabled, we can easily do that. So really nice feature with that partial. But I'm going to go in and I am going to now finalize this listing that Colleen worked so hard at with the CMA and the transaction desk populating into a partial. And I'm going to go in, take a little break, and here I am. I'm ready to upload my photos and get this ready for marketing out to the world. So under the maintain listings right here, it's really nice. You just, all right here, you're not having to jump around. And I can go in and I can tab through each required field as I want to. It closes it and opens these little boxes for you. And one thing that I want to highlight is we have a compensations and tours section. And what's unique about this area is we have 4 fields where you can add URLs. And 2 of them are branded, 2 of them are unbranded. And what's that mean in terms of, where I put the URL? Well, a branded one is going to have your name. You can promote yourself. You can have your branding, your logo, all of that. So if you work with a videographer and they create a nice aerial video, they can create one that has your branding and one that doesn't. And the branding one will go out on your single property website and it'll go out on advertising sites. But you always need to have an unbranded one as well, because the unbranded one will go out on all the stuff that is going to be like in the MLS. It's going to be out in the collaboration center and IDX, where you're not trying to market to anybody. It's just the information about the property. So you actually have 4 different options here, and that gives you a lot of flexibility in promoting these listings. So you can have an aerial video, you could have just a walkthrough tour that you do. Let me show a great one that Colleen did. Whether you hire somebody or not, you can just create your own little, why didn't it pull up? Let's just do this one. You can just create your own little tour with your phone and talk about yourself a little bit, talk about the property, and walk through and upload this on a platform such as YouTube or Vimeo and add that URL. So Colleen likes to do tours on her properties where she walks through. She also works with some videographers too, but she'll go through and do a nice video tour.
An entrance to the 1.5 car garage. We walk right into the living room. Does have a gas fireplace. And then just off to the left, we have a full first floor bathroom. And then just over here, we have a...
Now, Colleen did this with just her iPhone. She went in. How long would you say the little tour took you, Colleen?
I think it took about 8 minutes or 10 minutes. It didn't take long at all.
Yeah, it was a little condo, but about, 10 minutes. And then you were able just kind of to edit it in clips, right, on your phone?
Yep. Yeah. It was really simple. I was kind of nervous because I thought, I'd never done that before, but it was really simple.
Yeah. And we actually have an episode on our YouTube channel called, we have a playlist called Mixing It Up with My Real Source. And we do have an episode on there where we have somebody that comes on that just kind of talks about an app called Clips, where they can go in and you can just splice a little video really quickly on your phone together. And that's something that, Colleen likes to do on her properties, where she does a branded one and an unbranded one. And you also like to do aerial videos as well. So you have that option here with 4 different fields that all get sent out to the right places without you really having to do anything. It's going to go to the single property website. It's going to go in the MLS, it's going to go Collaboration Center, all the advertising sites. As long as you put them in the right fields, we're good to go. Another thing that I'll dive in a little deeper into this is our photo features. So I do want to mention that I teach a photo program here at My Real Source. It is a 3-part program. It has an intro, an advanced, and a field trip. And we cover everything from just kind of the basics to, some techniques on how to shoot, strategies, types of equipment, professional techniques. I studied photography in college, and so I kind of share some of those, but gear it towards real estate. And you then, once you've taken those 2 classes, you can come to a scheduled photo field trip where we go to furnished modeled homes and we partner up and we go and we take photos and we apply everything that we've learned in the first 2 classes, get familiar with your equipment, your camera phones, stuff like that, and all the features that are available in that. So just keep that in mind. So I'll cover some of the stuff that I talk about in the class, but we definitely go into a lot more information in the photo program. So when you are ready to upload your photos, whatever your method is, whether you maintain your photos yourself and add those in, directly from your phone or your camera onto your computer, you simply hit upload multiple photos. You can upload 99 photos actually at a time. We do have high resolution photos. The maximum resolution is 3072 by 2304, basically 3000 by 2300. So what's really nice about that is that, you're going to not get any kind of pixelation. It's going to be nice, large photos on all these promotional sites and single property websites without a lot of borders. And it's just really good because then you can see the detail and the backlit of the camera footage and everything. It's just, you really want to have that high resolution. So make sure that when you are taking these photos, if you do send them to, let's say, a front desk admin, if you're emailing them right from your phone and you're sending the small file, what's happening is you're compressing that. It's going to be more pixelated. It's not going to do the photos justice. So what you'll want to do is actually send those through some sort of method, such as AirDrop or Dropbox, Google Drive, anywhere that you can upload those large files so that they can download those and help upload those if that's your method of how you manage your listings. So just keep in mind, because we do see that sometimes people will accidentally send a thumbnail or the small file, and then they don't have high resolution quality photos. But you can upload 99 at a time. It will load right here. You'll see it uploading. Once it's uploaded, it's going to have it in order of the file name or the file number. But what I really like is that you can drag and drop, and you can see as you move it and the kind of the flow of the photos. So one thing that I recommend, and I'll show you when we go through this sample listing, is what photo, the flow of your photos is very important from storytelling purposes of somebody who hasn't been to this property. So you want to give those that kind of experience of walking through the home, not a lot of wasted photos. It's quality over quantity. You still want a lot of photos, but you want to have some good quality, some couple different angles, a couple close-ups if you feel like that's something that's a nice feature to add. So we'll go in, I'll show you that some examples of that in a minute. But once you've uploaded your photos and you drag and drop in the order that we're going to talk about, you can go in and you can edit if you need to. So let's say that you took your photos with your phone and that accidentally when you exported it came in upside down. The orientation can be changed. You can also crop once uploaded. Then what I strongly recommend is adding captions and descriptions. This is such an easy way to market this property even more. So what is the first thing that people care about when they get a new listing? It matches their criteria. That's obviously what they need. But then what? The photos. So you have about 10 photos to get their attention, and if they'll know if that's something that they want. That primary photo, you want to have a lot of contrast, which we talk about that in the photo program. But using captions and descriptions is a way to service this listing. So you can go in, you can simply just write one sentence and a short little caption. That's just an easy way to sell this property that as they're scrolling, this is going to be sent out to advertising sites. It'll be on IDX. It'll be on the single property website. It'll be on Collaboration Center as these little captions and labels that show up over the photo or down on their photo, or even just a whole section, a layer underneath the photo, depending on the platform that's being used. So definitely go in and add those captions and descriptions if you can. You have 255 characters in the descriptions. As you can see, this is a big paragraph that I wrote, but I used some of them, I just have one sentence. But I like to highlight the experience. Basically, if I was there, things I would point out if I was doing a tour is what I use the description for. So there's this beautiful mudroom in this home that I took photos of, and I was very envious of it. I'll just say that because I wish I had a nice big mudroom like this. But I just highlighted, those benefits and this extremely useful mudroom with custom built-in bench and hangers for backpacks, purses, briefcases, and more. There's also a tiny little office space too. So I mentioned the office space for bills and receipts, allowing kitchen counters to be free of clutter, which is also very nice. So you have this little office space right there, attached with a coat closet and a walk-in pantry. So when I decided on the order of this and the captions and descriptions, I decided I'm not going to go in through the foyer, the entrance. I'm going to go in through the mudroom, as if I was coming home after a long day at work and what that walkthrough would be. So let me open this up. I'll show you how these captions and descriptions display right here. So beautiful home. We talk about some contrast, how to get this blue sky, the time of day, angles of lighting in the photo program, but also highlighting that this is a great driveway for entertaining since it has that U-shaped or circular driveway. Nice little benefit there. So yeah, really obvious things that are good to point out about the home you can simply do in these descriptions. So here's that lovely mudroom that I'm a little jealous of. And I like to do a couple different angles of each space, ideally, unless it's just a small bedroom or a small bathroom or something. You don't need a lot of angles, of course. but there's things that sneak in that maybe, you didn't notice. Okay, I see it here, but I didn't see the appliances. Now I can see the built-in appliances, the double ovens, but I'm also using the descriptions to highlight that, because this is going to be their first impression are the photos and the descriptions before they go reading deeper into the report or even remarks. So those are some techniques with shallow depth of field that I'll teach you guys in the photo program. We just kind of go through what all these features are and the transitional photos. So transitional photos are, I don't want to just jump from one room to the next. I like to have a smooth transition through the space, and then the photo that follows that should make sense. So for example, this photo right here is that butler's quarter, and talk about how it connects to the formal dining room. Bam, I go to the formal dining room. Highlight some of the features of the home, the arched entrances, the ceilings, the wood beams. I just use everything that that I would maybe talk about in person and put that in the description so that they're seeing all of that, and you're just kind of giving them that story of what it would be like to be in this home. Okay. And then Colleen briefly talked about this too, but just a reminder, you can simply go in and you can upload just tabs through everything you need to do before making this listing live is adding your documents and disclosures. If you're gonna do an open house, this is where you add your open house. So since the pandemic, we actually requested that Paragon added a live stream option, because a lot of agents were, wanting to show properties, but they're, weren't allowed at the time of the lockdown to be able to have people come in to open houses or do just scheduled tours. And so a lot of agents ended up doing some live streams, or had the option at least to do a live stream with their phone, Zoom, and they could go in, they could check that, put that URL. But you can schedule this open house, date, time, add any comments, and then once you schedule that and save that, it'll be on the property itself in Paragon, but it'll also be under tours. When you go under search, you can go tours and open houses, and then they can easily just find any open houses that are scheduled for whatever set time that they're looking and that are in the system in their areas that they're set to. And then here are tours. Tours and open houses really look pretty much the same from the management standpoint, but same thing, you have the live stream option. Colleen started doing these tours through the YouTube recording, where she could just simply add this URL to if she wanted to, or do a live stream one where that link was available to see that. So now that I've added my photos, I've perfected all the descriptions, uploaded documents, scheduled my open house, I'm ready to go. So I can either save it as a partial, look at it with fresh eyes, or if I was the admin, I can save it as a partial and be like, here, I added everything, but I want, you to go in and you fine tune it before it goes live. Save it as a partial. Or once it's hit save listing, it's live. It's live in the system. It's live on all of those platforms, data sharing within a half an hour to an hour, and IDX and syndication. So make sure that it's good to go. I don't know how many times I can repeat that, but we've been seeing it getting better. But a lot of times that was, a complaint is, okay, I have one photo. This doesn't help me with trying to find a home for my buyer. Now, once this listing is live in the system, you're ready to promote that, right? So, Colleen, what was that? What's your new, your Orleans address?
It's 1941 Orleans. And
so
it's, yeah.
Colleen just listed a cute little condo apartment in downtown Detroit, and I thought she did really good job with the photos. So I just want to show, you know, the single property website that gets created automatically for our members and their listings when they go live. You will get a email that the listing property website is ready to go. But if you miss it or you're just not ready, you can go in and you can hit this little house with the check mark. This is unique to my real source. We actually worked with a web developer to design this single property website and create one for every new MLS number that gets generated in Paragon. And this is you know, it's very photo based, of course, but we can go in and we can see her cute little condo, large photos, high resolution, gallery view, but you can also see, you know, through here, displays the remarks, nice icon based. That was a big thing that when we worked with the developer, we just wanted to keep things really clean, you know, not too busy looking, but also icon based. So it's, you know, pleasing to the eye. Basic fields. And then what's really nice is you don't have branding from any other agent on your website. So a lot of times people were just so excited that they got a new listing and they wanted to get it out on their Facebook business page or their personal page even, which I'll talk about in a second. But what you're doing is, depending on the site, you have advertising from other agents right on your listing. And if there's a question, who are they going to click on? They're probably going to click on the person with the headshot and the contact information tied to that property. So what we did is we wanted to have this single property website where it's all of your listings, your contact information, and nothing else. And then there's the map view and lead capture, as well as schedule a showing link to put that in. So now if I wanted to share my listing, I could simply go to these platforms that are available here. I'm gonna go to Facebook and I can say a little something about the property. What I recommend doing is about 1 to 3 sentences, ideally 3. 3 sentences is what you're gonna kind of tell them: this new listing hit the market, or super excited, I just closed on, you know, this property. If you're interested in learning more, please contact me. So your description needs to kind of have why they should care, a little something about the home, what was great about it, and then a call to action at the end. So if you're looking to get a CMA on your property, or learn, you know, help you find a home right now, reach out to me here, call me here, something like that. Click on this link. A lot of times agents, we have a lead capture class. And in Cloud CMA, we have a lead capture tool that's built into that captures information when people plug in their address to learn a little bit of information about their property, and you get that lead sent to you to then follow back up. So depending on what you use, always want to have a call to action in your description. What is nice too about the single property website, which I really like, is that I don't have to see a tiny thumbnail when I pull up the property. Okay, so it loads a large primary photo. The basics of the property are right here so that I know I don't have to dig for it, and then open that up. So one little thing I do want to remind everybody about your terms using Facebook that I think is really easily overlooked is you should have a Facebook business page to start with, and then post if you're doing anything for commercial gain, it has to be done on a business page. So when you do that, you want to originally share to your business page. So a page that you manage would be here in this drop down. It'll allow you to choose a page that you manage. And then once you've shared it to the page that you manage, you can reshare it to your personal page, because that is the original source that's still tied to that. So it's tied to that business page. And of course, like, things get shared on people's personal pages all the time. But as long as it came from that original business page, you're not in violation of any kind of terms of that commercial gain. So just a little friendly reminder there for you. Another thing that's available too in Paragon is a product called HomeSnap. HomeSnap creates a single property website as well. Now this is a little icon with a house in the square. So we have the house with the check mark, that's the single property website. And then the HomeSnap branding is right here with the house. And this actually is very, similar, a single property website too. This has a really great lead capture feature. So sometimes what I recommend is, share that single property website and then maybe a day or two later, share from HomeSnap to kind of get some of those leads coming in, or vice versa. But what's nice is that HomeSnap, when they sign up underneath an agent, they have direct access to public or client view MLS data with you tied to them. So they can ask you questions, they can, kind of build that relationship as a lead right through HomeSnap and be able to do some searching, but actually on a really, MLS accurate based site and app. So there's the option there for them to see information about the property. Still really nice looking. I personally really like the single property website better, but this has a really nice lead capture feature available that you can go in, nice gallery view, and you can simply share, you can simply share that rate to your Facebook page as well. And so now here, if I wanted to send a private message to Colleen, she gets that lead, and I also can now download HomeSnap or browse HomeSnap and create an account as a client and go in and check things out on HomeSnap. As a member of My Real Source, you get HomeSnap Pro Premium, which is basically the MLS on an app. So there's an agent view. So there's the client view where they log in and sign up, but as a member, you have HomeSnap, you sign in, it recognizes the agent, and you can be able to edit your listings, you can promote from there. There's add-on features to market your listings and place ads places too. So, just a few options here with HomeSnap, to say the least. Colleen, what was your favorite feature when you did the extra marketing piece to HomeSnap?
I wasn't a fan of like the concierge or anything like that, but I did like the marketing that you could do on a specific listing with Waze. I had a listing that was out in Riley, and unfortunately, it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it was really struggling to get people in the door. But what was really cool about it is it pops up this Waze pin, and I think I only paid like $99 for it. I had 32,000 views. The buyer actually told me he found it on Waze, and we were able to close it from him doing the turn-by-turn directions from Highway 69 to Waze. He clicked on the pin, drove to the property, and he ended up buying it. And I had another one tell me that they bought it in Troy. It was surrounded by construction. Same concept. He would have never known it was there. It was one street that was covered in orange barrels. He clicked on the Waze pin, drove past it, fell in love with it, and we ended up closing on it. So you can actually use a sliding scale. It uses Google, Facebook, Instagram, and Waze, but Waze seems to be the one that I've had the best luck with. So yeah, and 2 buyers have actually said they have come directly from that. So when they tell you they saw it there, you know it's actually working. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right, Colleen, well, I will hand it off to you to go over the statuses. And then if you guys have any questions that you've been holding on to or anything, feel free to ask.
Yeah, not too many questions today. So now's your opportunity, right?
Yeah.
All right, so so we just got a real quick wrap up while we give you one more opportunity to add in any questions that you may have. And that wrap up is sometimes when you're putting in listings, you see things you may not always be familiar with. And so especially over the last couple of years, there's been a couple new statuses added. So I kind of want to explain what those are. And I also want to say that you can always clone your own listing. So if you've had to take it off the market or your admin has taken it off the market, let's say they're redoing the basement or fixing a broken water pipe, you can always clone it as long as it's your own and put it back on the market. So one of the statuses I want to talk about first, because there are two new statuses, is the coming soon status. So even if you're with an MLS that maybe doesn't use coming soon, you want to be familiar with what that means and why that happened. And coming soons came about from a NAR policy. It's called Policy 8. And it really was a good thing because what was happening is agents were behaving badly, right? Unfortunately. And so what was happening is agents were putting their signs in the front yard. You're driving along with your buyer as a good agent. Your buyer says, "Oh, I want to see that house." But the agent was never putting it into the MLS. Things were selling so quickly, they were putting their signs in front with their phone number on it. Buyers, of course, were calling them. And then, of course, they double dip the listing almost every time. And it's what we call a pocket listing. So because the agent was the only one showing or able to get into the listing, they were able to be the listing agent and the selling agent in most of their transactions, which really wasn't fair to the consumer because your buyers, as a great agent, might have written a much higher offer, but they never got a chance to see it. So long story short, NAR created Policy 8 that says if you are going to advertise a property in any way, whether it's a Facebook ad, people don't think about that, or a postcard marketing, or a sign in the yard, or a sign in the window, if you are advertising, you have 24 hours to put it into the MLS, but you can put it in as a coming soon status for up to 7 days. On that 7th day, it automatically rolls over into an active listing. And that is what a coming soon is if your clients say, "Wait, I need 1 or 2 days to fix up the carpet or clean up the house," you can still put it on to the MLS in that coming soon status as buyers see it out on Zillow, Realtor.com, all those other IDX and syndication sites. But it is very important that it goes into the MLS. So, of course, agents have the ability to show those properties. And then all of a sudden, your buyers are frustrated with you because you didn't get them into that house and now it's pending. So that's what happened with the coming soon status. The other is not my favorite. I'm going to be honest. It's the ABO, accepting backup offers. Guess what? We're in Michigan. We've always accepted backup offers. It's in license law that says any and all offers will be presented. And so it's important to know that. But really what that is, the reason you want to know and help your buyers understand ABO is it's pretending to be an active property, right? It says, "Come on in, you can show it, it's active." But really there is a pending offer, a bottom line contract on the property. So these are things you want to know because when you're seeing them, your buyers are seeing them out on syndication sites, you want to be able to explain that. If you take a property, it used to be, and I remember this 23 years ago when I got my license, we played these little games in the MLS. Like we would take it off the market for 1 day, or we would take it off the market and change the price by $1. Because what would happen is back in the old days, it would throw that listing on as new. And so people would see it again. So we played these constant games with changing the price by $1 or, taking it off the market for 1 day and putting it back on. Well, now there's something called cumulative days on market. So what happens is with cumulative days on market, it's still showing on and off. They can go to Zillow and see every time that property went on and off the market. So you're really not doing yourself any favors. If you do want to reset the listing to new, again, they will still see the history, but if you're looking to do a reset, the property has to be off the market for a full 30 days. On day 31, when the listing is resubmitted, it does turn into a new listing. So these are some things that you definitely want to be aware of because we obviously have to educate our poor buyers. And so what happens is, they fall in love. And right now, like in Sterling Heights, there's not enough inventory. They're falling in love with ABOs. We sort of have to premise that you may not get that because it's actually already under contract with someone else, but the seller wants to continue to show it. So it's just knowing that helpful language. I do see that there is one question. Will this webinar be uploaded to the YouTube channel? Yes, absolutely. So we recorded it, and thank you for your question. And we recorded this so that we can add it to our YouTube channel. We've made it really, really easy to find our YouTube channel. So let me show you. You're going to go under resources, under education, you will find recorded webinars. Again, if you go right there, it will show you. Taylor, I think, is also putting the link direct so you can actually save it right to your favorites. But you can go right to videos. I really like the playlist, but it shows you the video as well as most of them show the date. If you go to playlist, you can even find it by category. So easy to find those. Let's say you're looking for showing time help, you're looking for Paragon help, you're looking for this class. They're all in a convenient playlist to find them, and they should have the date next to them so you know which one you attended. So hopefully that helps. Thanks so much for asking a question. Is there any other questions? I'm not seeing any, but now is a great time to throw them in there if there is. Again, I'm embarrassed and I apologize about the delay in getting started. That never really happens to us, but I now know that I will do a reboot after connecting to our hybrid classroom. I think that was the key. So I want to thank you for your patience there too. All right, Taylor, I don't see any other questions. Are we ready to wrap it up?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks everybody. Happy selling. Go get some listings. We need that inventory.
Yeah. Yep. Great job, Colleen. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.